spent about 6 months together with our editor watching watching all the footage and making notes. And that was a very slow process, in part because Alex wasn't working a 40-hour week at that point. So, and then right when we were about to, and Alex was really healthy that whole time. So that was the point when we watched all our footage and we thought it was going to take us about another 6 or 8 months to put the movie together. That was the point at which we were like, wow, we're going to finish this movie together. But we didn't even have an assembly, and Alex got very sick and died basically within 7 weeks. So, so she never saw an assembly. And, you know, there's a lot of things, the way this movie, the process played out, where I feel like if we hadn't watched every frame of the footage together, I don't know that I would have been able to finish it. I don't know if that's just a story that I tell myself, but you know, by that point, both because of all the development we did and that we shot all this stuff together and watched all this footage together, I felt like the idea of the movie that we were making together was so clearly in my head that's how I felt able to do it. It just, you know, she was very present in my head at that point.
The two husbands, they're very important in the film, and yet they're not. So could you talk a little bit about how you two decided what the husbands would be?
That's such a hard question.
What's the question?
The question was, the two husbands in the film are, well, how would you say, important but not very important, and how did we...
Present but not.
Present but not present, and how did we come to that?
If I may speak.
What's that?
If I may speak for the husband, is that all?
Yes, yes, the husband wants to speak for the husband. Please, help me out.
There's one, so I'm sorry, what's the question?
There's one real husband. There's a real husband and a fictional husband.
Yeah.
Yes. The question is, how, they're important. They're present but not present, and how did we make a decision to make them be less present? Do you still want to speak to that?
Or present.
I felt often present.
I know, exactly. That's exactly right, I would say. And if I had been really thinking on my feet, that's what I would have said. I think Eric did feel very present. So, I don't know. I'm going to let him leave there, let him speak for himself.
Other questions? Yes?
Well, speaking of the husband, but by the way, the film is bringing out but was the husband ambivalent about the movie?
That's another question for the husband. Was the husband ambivalent about the movie? And if you want me to answer for you, I will.
No, so look, I married a filmmaker. I was not ambivalent about her making a movie. No, I was not ambivalent. No, not at all, not at all. And what a beautiful thing that she made her movie. And she made it with Liz, and Liz finished it.
But also, Eric was so incredibly generous with us. I mean, you know, as you can see, because he's a complicated, like we all are, he's a complicated human being, he's a complicated character in this movie, and he encouraged us to let him be as complicated as he is. And thank you for that.
Other questions? Yes?
Where is the film going to be shown further?
We're going to have a theatrical release in the fall. Thank you.
Yes?
Eric, if you don't mean to be personal, but when you said, you know, enough with the camera, was that actual or was that rehearsed?
I know, it's so funny. People keep asking that. It is so, like, real time. It is total, like, our having dinner. Like, there's no rehearsal. Was it annoying? Yes. It was super annoying, but no, that was like a super honest shot. And I love that about the movie. The movie is just real. It's like, I don't know, whatever. I mean, like it works or it doesn't, or it is what it is, but yeah, we were having dinner.
Were there ever any moments of scenes that you filmed or anything where you said, you know, let's not include that?
No, we
or
left
say
it in.
something that's-
No, in fact, somebody, I was at a Q&A the other night, and somebody asked about that, and they were like, so that scene, it seems like it's almost like I think they used the word mistake, like it's almost like a mistake, but you left it in. I'm like, well, you know, I don't think it's a mistake, but I see why somebody would ask that question that way. And I was like, yeah, because that was the crazy, hard messiness of making this movie. And, you know,
I don't think there's a messier scene.
There's not. I mean,
that we cut. I don't.
Oh no, there isn't. That's what I'm saying.
It's
It's in the movie. Yeah.
So I mean, what's the point? Right? Like the whole point of the movie is like it's like we're there. So you're not going to cut something out of that. You didn't cut that out.
To that point, Liz, can you talk about the shooting ratio?
Of doc shooting?
Yeah, and what kind of choices you made in terms of that process, like how much footage for how much time on screen?
Well, the movie is about an hour and a half, and we shot about 120 hours of doc footage. And I've never done the math about fiction versus doc. I mean, the fiction that's in the movie, my guess is it's about 15 minutes, but I don't know. So I'm letting you do all the rest of the math yourselves. But the fictional script was much longer than this. I mean, this fictional movie, if it were a movie in its own right, would be about 40 minutes long. So there's a lot of the fiction that ended up not in this movie, and the reason for that was quite simply that Alex turned out to be such an incredibly compelling character that when we were away from her for too long, the movie lost air for me. And we didn't know that before we started.
We have time for 2 more questions. Yes?
It seems like your role was capturing Alex directing the fictional movie. Did you have a role as the director of the scripted film as well? Like, did you feel like that was part of your process too, or it was just capturing Alex as working through it?
You know, it was never super schematic in terms of who was doing what. And, you know, when we started working on the movie together, we didn't even really define our roles. I mean, I'm a producer by trade, and Alex is a director by trade, so implicitly, I think we thought that's what we were doing, but we always saw it as a film by both of us, regardless of our roles, and it was a very seamless collaboration. And then when we were about to start shooting the fiction, Alex said to me, you know, I feel like this is a little murky, and I really need to be the director. I was like, okay, great, I'll be the producer. And then, you know, so we shot the fiction, and she was the director, and then we watched our footage together as collaborators, basically, and assuming that she was still going to be the director and I was going to be the producer. And then when she got sick, we had to have a conversation about whether I was going to finish the movie without her. And I said to her, I didn't feel like I could do that without being co-directors, because I felt like, even though it was kind of semantics, but I felt like I needed that authority invested in me by her to be able to sit there and make the decision that you have to make to finish a movie.
It's beautiful.
One last question? Yes?
So when her story emerged as being more compelling to you than the fictionalized story, was she on board with that, or did that happen more in the editing process?
It happened more in the editing process, and I will tell you that while we were watching the footage, a lot of the times Alex would sit there and go, "Oh my God, this movie is it's really about me." Like he didn't necessarily know that going into it. And it was evident that it had to be that, but it's like getting into a really, like a hot bath, you have to go really slow. And so I think if we had known that going in, she might have said, "No way." And one other thing I just want to say to that is that some of the most, for me, potent footage is the video diary stuff. So, that's a gift to this movie. I mean, I don't think the movie would be what it is without that footage and without her having made that choice, whether she was making it 100% consciously or not.
Well, thank you, Liz.
Thank you.